Electric vehicle owners in the UK will have to start paying road tax from 2025. The government says it's designed to make the motoring tax system fairer. But some motoring experts fear the move will stop demand and slow the transition to electric cars. Well, let's talk now to Jim Holder from Autocar and Autocar magazines. Jim, welcome. Well, taxing electric car drivers was always on the cards, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. It always had to come. The carrot and stick needed to be applied. One of the carrots was this free road tax. But now, of course, that's going to be taken away from 2025. I think what really has startled people, however, is that the rate of tax that's going to be paid by these new electric cars is going to be greater than some petrol cars that remain on our roads. And I think it's that disparity and the messaging behind that disparity that really is causing some concern as we try and push people towards this 2030 ban on the sale of new combustion engine vehicles.
Well, the car industry bosses are crying foul, as perhaps you'd expect, suggesting taxing electric vehicles will drive buyers back to buying diesel and petrol. Ford's chairman, Tim Slatter, has described this UK government move as short-sighted, his words. I mean, the CEOs of the car companies do have a point, don't they?
They have a point in the sense that they are investing billions in developing this technology and they need it to sell. It's not as profitable as combustion engine vehicles and it's a huge transition for them to have to undertake, and they want to be selling vehicles profitably in large numbers in order to cover that. However, I think there has to be a sense here that somehow the exchequers have to replace the tax that they've always had. It always felt inevitable that there would be some shift. Certainly our polling on Autocar suggested that a lot of EV buyers are not put off by this rise. They expected it to happen. And we have to remember EVs are slightly more expensive on average than combustion engine cars. They tend to be bought by people who are a bit wealthier and who can perhaps afford £165 a year to keep a car on the road.
And let's be fair, electric cars do contribute to urban congestion. They pollute streets with their tyre and their brake dust, not to mention, of course, the environmental cost of producing them, making the batteries and shipping them around the world. I mean, isn't it just time that perhaps we all admitted they are just cars, not special cases, and should perhaps seen as environmentally kind and taxed accordingly?
Yeah, I think we have to understand there is a transition, and I think we need to encourage that transition. You're absolutely right in what you say. Electric vehicles do produce pollution both in their manufacture and their use. However, over time, that balances out and goes very much into the credit of the electric vehicle after just a few thousand miles of that usage. So we want them on our roads, and we need to keep an eye on the fact we're encouraging that. And not only are we encouraging it, we're legislating it in quite short order. So the industry really does need some support in making that transition. Yeah, it's an industry where the margins are typically quite thin, but the profits can be huge if they sell vehicles in large numbers. But in order to make that investment, they need to be selling these cars, and it would be a great shame to lose some of the momentum that has built up behind that.
Jim, thank you for that. Good to talk to you. Jim Holder from Autocar and Autocar magazines.